The initial goal from birth to 3 months and 4 months and 6 months is really teaching your little one to play with you. And that's the key here. And I think a lot of parents don't fully embrace or understand how much we really need to shape that. And yes, a lot of kids get by with a little interaction here and there, and they learn to talk and to play okay enough. But what I'm challenging you all with is, how about if you really embrace this role of yours, to step into it and say, hello, and welcome to Talking Toddlers, where I share more than just tips and tricks on how to reduce tantrums or build your toddler's vocabulary. We're going to cover all of that, but here, our goal is to develop clarity, because in this modern world, it's truly overwhelming. This podcast is about empowering moms to know the difference between fact and fiction, to never give up, to tap into everyday activities so your child stays on track. He's not falling behind, he's thriving through your guidance. We know that true learning starts at home, so let's get started. Today, we're focusing on a topic every parent encounters daily: cooperation. How do we teach toddlers to work with us instead of against us? And here's the spoiler alert. It's not about forcing compliance, but it's about building a mutual respect and a family trust environment where you can actually work together as a team. So today, I want to cover 7 powerful strategies that teach cooperation and starts at infancy. So we'll talk about simple activities like turn taking during play, and even how the youngest toddlers can help with household chores. You'll learn why giving choices, using positive language, and explaining the why behind your rules begin to set the stage for overall collaboration. Now, I know parenting toddlers can feel like you're herding cats on most days, but with the right tools and your better, deeper, richer understanding on how you can play your part, then the spirit of cooperative household and a lot of nurturing and team building can last a lifetime. So in the last episode, we covered cooperation as the process of working together to come to the same ending. That cooperation is learned over time, and it's really driven by your leadership or your guidance as the primary role model in your family. So before you can expect a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old to really even begin to participate in learning cooperation, we have to lay the foundation for building his or her attention, getting them engaged with us, right? Building their good listening skills, building how well they understand spoken language, even 1 to 3 words or short phrases. It's really important, because then that helps them understand cause and effect. When a lot of us talk about cooperation, we think about, or we are thinking about, true cooperative play. And that really doesn't start to emerge until they're 4 or 5 or 6. That's when we're looking at how my little guy or gal can cooperatively play with others, right? Their friends or other family members, perhaps at school, a neighborhood, park parties, team sports, all of that. That happens at the preschool level. I want today to really focus on how do we get there? What are those first 4 years like? There's a lot of prep work involved. And that's why I began this conversation with play, that to me, play is child's work, right? Through play, they're learning, they're building. And last week I outlined 8 distinct types of play. And to me, they're based on developmental milestones and what is a healthy expectation. And you can go back and look through, 1 through 8. Today, I want to add to that and really talk about strategies or ways to build and teach cooperation. And yes, kids learn best through play, right? A 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old isn't going to sit down and listen to a long lecture or a podcast, right? Or, review note cards. That they engage in the environment, i.e. play, and build language while experiencing that play lifestyle, right? And then with that language, we create cognitive skills. And cognitive skills, like I always share, is not necessarily intellect, but the way that they think, the way that they understand and problem solve and try again. So let's walk through these 7 ways that you could start really helping your little guy or gal understand and be more cooperative. And remember, it's a process. So baby steps. But the first one is really to encourage turn taking. And as young as a 6, 8, 9-month-old, babies can begin to engage in that back and forth interaction. That's early turn taking. Now, those first several months, first 3 to 6 months, you're creating that connection, right? Laying that early foundation, building attention to another human being, right? Building engagement through all of that social play. And by the time they hit 6, 8 months of age, then it's a lot more interaction. So, for example, think of teaching them how to give 5. Give me 5, right? You're using that gesture, putting your hand up, using speech. Give me 5. And there's that early expectation. You're putting your hand up, saying the request, enticing them, and you're waiting for them to hit your hand. And if they don't, of course, in the beginning, what do? You pick up their hand and show them how to do it, right? And that's his positive reinforce. And you smile and laugh, yay, give me 5 again. And again, you support him through that motor planning if they don't understand what the expectation is. Also, you're playing games like blowing bellies, right? People call it different things, but when your baby or infant is on their back, say you're changing their clothes or taking off their shoes and socks or whatever, you can, with a playful smile and big eyes, kind of creep into his little belly space and say, oh, I'm going to get your belly or tummy, whatever you call it, and you lift his shirt and you blow on his belly. That is building his interest, building his engagement with you. There's some anticipation. And after a while, a few weeks or whatnot, he begins to understand what this social play is, and he'll lift his own shirt and you'll say, oh, I see your belly. I'm going to get your belly, get, right? And you blow onto his belly. But those early social engagements help him build that dyad with you, that give and take. And then, there's the classic ones such as peekaboo or this little piggy went to the market. My favorite, row your boat, or any game where you can just say, ready, set, go. And you're building that very, very early give and take. And he begins to anticipate when you start using a certain gesture or certain word phrase. Ring around the rosy. Again, I've shared this before, but I'm surprised at so many different preschool settings I would go to and play Ring Around the Rosie. And the teachers were amazed at how engaged the kids were because it was fun. It was interactive. It was repetitive, but highly, highly successful. But those are examples that all require engagement. a type of expectation and anticipation, right? But there's also a timing mechanism. And that's the initial stage to asking a question, waiting, and then getting an answer, or asking for help to do XYZ, waiting, and then they follow through, right? But these early precursors can easily be done several times a day during their waking hours, right? You don't want to play these highly engageable social activities right before you want him to get to sleep, right? But you look at them as snatching those 2 to 4 to 6 minutes where you're really helping them understand this give and take. And the initial goal from birth to, 3 months and 4 months and 6 months is really teaching your little one to play with you. And that's the key here. And I think a lot of parents don't fully embrace or understand how much we really need to shape that. And yes, a lot of kids get by with a little interaction here and there, and they learn, to talk and to play okay enough. But what I'm challenging you all with is, how about if you really embrace this role of yours, to step into it and say, how can I really enrich these early months, these early years, and make the best of it? And I do always preface a lot of your time with your little ones, especially when they're really, really little, under 3, is that you need to get ready to play with them. And what that means is turn off the electronics, all the distractions, be present, my 3 Ps, right? To be present, to be purposeful, like, okay, I'm going to play some social games with him, and then to be playful, to be happy, to be able to do it with your little one. So if you remove those distractions or any kind of background noise or clutter is noise clutter and visual clutter, right? It's just you and me. We're just going to play on the floor here for 5 minutes, and I'm going to be in it with you. And then as they approach, they're, closer to that 6 months of age, they're now sitting up. They're, spend a lot of time on tummy time, playing with you, learning how to play by themselves, right? And now they're sitting up in the high chair, ready to be introduced to solid foods, right? At 6 months. And now they're really, with 6 months of really rich social engagement with you, they're ready to learn how to take turns and give that back and forth play. And in this mix is also, he is learning from your modeling how to imitate. And so when we're looking at a 12-month-old and an 18 and a 30-month-old, we want them to be able to imitate and follow our lead with speech and language, building that vocabulary, building that rich language structure. It starts with play, right? And gestures. And I talk a lot about that here. But, part of my mission is really to help new moms and new families to embrace that, knowing that that is really laying a solid foundation. So let's just kind of walk through some early turn taking and early imitation. Say, for example, blocks. When you place a block in the bucket, give them a moment to take his block and copy you, right? And put it in the bucket. Take turns putting the blocks in the bucket and then dumping them out. Maybe you just put 3 or 5 or 6 in, and then he can dump them. But he's learning that back and forth. When he gets a little bit bigger or older, closer to that first birthday, then it begins to develop into more functional play. Up to that point, putting in blocks and taking up blocks, that was more non-functional. They're just exploring, how do these things work, right? Whether it's a block or a ball or a dolly or a twist turn toy or whatnot. They're just exploring different actions with it. But it becomes a little more functional closer to that first birthday, all the way up through 15 months of age. That first year is like testing the objects, right? Like I said, and doing a lot more banging or hitting or turning or throwing or dumping. What will happen with this when I do it over and over again, like when I splash water, or when I roll a ball, the dog runs and chases it, or when I drop food off my plate, mom will come and pick it up. Cause and effect. But through your demonstrating and giving him opportunities to imitate and take turns, then you continue to build on that, and you can be more functional closer to that 18-month mark where you're taking turns and putting puzzle pieces together. But you can then translate that into, oh, it's time to clean up. And let's make a game of it. Let's do turn taking, right? I start to put objects on the shelf, and then you start to put objects on the shelf. And what goes in this box? All the blocks. What goes in this box? All the dress-up clothes. And you're showing him the organization, and you're doing it together. I put a little in, you put a little in. And remember, at this stage, at 12 months and 18 months and even 24 months, they can approximate. And what that means is that, they might put it in any old box, and you might some days help them organize, but other days that he just wants to put all the toys away because he knows it's dinner time or he's going to go out and play. You can always go back and reorganize and sort and file. But the whole idea is giving him opportunities to do it with you. The goal is imitation. The goal is learning how to take turns early on. And those are types of cooperation, because what we want is that 4-year-old and 6-year-old to be able to do it on their own, but they need to experience it with you. And your job is to give them those opportunities so she can feel the pleasure of accomplishing something with you. That's early team building, right? We're a team, we're in it together. Or maybe there's a couple of kids or dad or the nanny or whomever, but you're in it together. So number 2 of these different ways to help build cooperation is to do chores together starting at an early age. The idea is to really help or let your child grow up experiencing the benefits of cooperation, right? So even a 1-year-old can help you set the table, or like I just explained, clean up the toys, right? And you give them tasks to do that they can do fairly independently and with great pride, right? And just a couple of things. Like you're not going to really expect your 1 or your 2-year-old to quote unquote set the table, but your 5 and 6-year-old, they have experienced a lot now and they can do it. But that 1 or 1.5-year-old, you can help them. Here, put the napkins on the table. No, that's off the table. Put them on the table, right? Or a placemat. Or you can show them hand over hand at the beginning to help them feel like this is on the table. And then you can even do it for cleanup. And we talk a lot about that these simple chores, right? Put it in the trash. The napkin is dirty. Or better yet, you could ask, where does a dirty napkin go? Right? Or this is a dirty cup. Where do you put it? Again, pulling them in to listening on purpose, right? You asking them a question, and then they're able to tell you or show you what the answer is. And my favorite that I share here often is putting groceries away. Again, they're not going to do all of it, but if they can put certain safe things away, where do paper towels go, right? Or where does the bread belong? This is early cooperation. You getting the picture here? It's really building it step by step and not not pushing it, but not letting, oh, he's 1 or he's 2, he, makes more messes than he does really help. Well, you can't expect him to wake up on his 5th birthday and say, okay, now I'm going to be a great chore builder, or, I'm going to be cooperative. But by pointing out the advantages of cooperating, then they're feeling it with you. Like you could say something, look how fast we set the table. Now we have time to read a book before dinner because it has to cook for 10 more minutes. Look at the clock. And so, but we were so good or so fast at setting the table, we have time to read a book. Right? Or kids love in the summertime or wherever you live to help you wash the car if you do that, right? Boy, it was fun washing the car with you. You're a great scrubber. Look how bright and shiny the car is. Or you can look inside and say, wow, look how clean. We dusted it. We threw away the trash. It's so nice. And you're giving them that. Yeah, there's a lot of play acting involved, and I share that a lot here. But if you're so tired and overwhelmed, which, at this time of year, I can certainly understand because this will go out in December, but you really have to hopefully rethink of how do you show up? What's your energy level? What's your tone? What's your intention? And 2024, my word was intention. And I think it was a hit and miss sometimes. And that happens. And one of my hopes is that we all will get in the habit of stopping ourselves, our daily life, our to-do list, and just check in and see, okay, am I showing up? How am I showing up? What's my energy? What's my attitude? What's my expectation? Am I really helping them by role modeling and giving them the support and then slowly but surely weaning away? So number 3 on this list of 7 is to explain your reasons for family rules and that why it's important that we as a family help each other out. And again, you can kind of think of this on your own, but I wanted to outline it that by 3, most children who have decent, competent speech and language development can use and understand language well enough to handle simple explanations, not just directions, but explain, to think through the cause and the effect. So you can point out the benefit of the rules, right? And how it impacts the whole family, not just the child, and maybe not just you, but, oh gosh, we set the table, dinner's going to be ready in 10 minutes. And when daddy comes home, we can all sit down and share together. He's going to be so excited. He can smell the chicken and he loves it when the table is all set so nice, and you can sit next to daddy, the whole gamut, right? But you can even say simple things like, we all help clean up and organize. And then we know where everything is. We don't lose your toys, right? We can find them again tomorrow when it's time to play. If you put all your trucks away in this bin and all your books on the shelf, then tomorrow we know exactly where they are. Or you could say something like, I like grocery shopping. I like doing laundry together. But you could say, when you help me put away all the laundry, we can finish quicker and then we have more time to play, right? But if I have to do it all by myself, then you have to wait. So what you're helping little ones do, and they're very capable of doing this, they don't think of it on their own and they're not cognizant, but you're bringing the awareness of the structure of your family, the flow, the expectation, and how he or she can learn to be an active, engaged member. And it starts early on. Especially around that first birthday, 1.5, when they're pretty mobile, right? And they're getting into everything because they're interested, they're curious. Well, help them shape that by say, here, put the napkins on the table. here, throw these dirty cups in the trash. Or here, carry these paper bags to the mudroom. Whatever the task is, to pull their energy and their curiosity into the moment in real time and build purpose. That's cooperation, right? So number 4 of this list of 7 is to take time to problem solve. And you're thinking, how do I do that? Well, you can help a slightly older 2-year-old and even those new 3-year-olds come up with solutions to everyday problems or dilemmas, right? And to encourage cooperation at the same time, because what are you doing? You're pulling them in and asking them for help. So you would first state the problem. Say they're doing something and it's not what you want them to do, right? It's against the rules, right? So say, for example, they're about to draw on the wall and you say, no, I know you want to draw on the wall, but mommy says no. So there's the problem. And then you can ask them, where can you draw? Where is a good place to draw? And then you solve it together. If your child can't come up with the answer, if you're either too wiggly or, just kind of out of sorts, you can give them choices, which are both always acceptable to you, right? You could say, oh, you can draw on the paper, or you can draw on the bag, or you can draw on the box, or you can draw on this orange piece of paper. Give them 2 choices that are acceptable. And if they keep pushing the limits there, they want to draw on the wall or the refrigerator, or in my case, it was always a tabletop. And sometimes when kids start to draw in the books, that can be tricky because books are made of paper, right? And so they get a little confused. So you have to be very explicit and set the limits, right? Books are for reading and looking at the pictures. This single paper here is for drawing, and help them sort elements in their house that they can do, set that limit. And if they keep pushing the envelope, what do? You show them, oh, well, I will put the crayons away until you pick a good thing to draw on. Right? And this is helping them understand what the boundaries are. You don't necessarily get mad or frustrated. You say, no drawing or no crayons on the wall or on the table or on mommy's, booklet. You want to draw. Here's your paper. Do you want yellow or white? So what you're telling them is what they can do, not always what they can't do. And give them those conditions. For example, yes, you can jump, but you can't jump on the sofa, right? Jumping is for outside, or jumping is for on the floor, or jumping is on the rug. Let them know what they can do. Because the whole negation thing, like no running, no jumping on the sofa, that's difficult for kids under 3 because there's a lot of language manipulation inside their head. I hear like jumping and no, and if you show them what they can do, you can run in the hallway. You can run outside. Now, I know that it's pretty common and easy to jump into this habit of just telling them. But if we ask them, then they attend more because you're pulling them into problem solving. They have to think, what are you asking? Maybe come up with an answer of themselves or pick one of your 2 choices, but they're solving it, not just being shot down, but they're solving it, finding a solution with you. And that's very empowering. It's also a key element to cooperation. And letting them know if we don't pick up our toys or the dirty clothes, we can't go outside. So what do you want to do? Sit and be bored? Or go outside and play? Let's pick up the the toys or pick up the dirty clothes, right? Whatever your expectation, keep it simple, keep it really concrete. Don't make it personal, but help them make that decision with you. So number 5 of this list of 7 ways to build cooperation is to give specific praise for cooperative efforts, right? Again, they don't understand that word. Oh, you need to learn how to cooperate, right? But if we're positive with when they are really helping us or learning to help us, then we're going to get more of that behavior. It's kind of, psychology 101 or parenting 101, but point out why and then how your child's contribution was important. Like, oh my gosh, we, did all the laundry together. That's great. Because this helps him recognize and then feel valued with his effort. So again, one of my favorites is laundry. And you can help them learn same or different or things that are alike, right? By saying something such as, oh, you picked out all the white socks and you put them together. You helped me finish sorting the laundry quicker. Oh my gosh, that was so great. And now, because you helped, we have more time to play. Again, putting toys back. You put all the books on the shelf. Now it's easier to choose one. Which one do you want to look at? Do you want to read to mommy or shall mommy read to you? Again, really praising. And I know it takes energy, it takes bandwidth, but if we do these simple, kind of emotional based strategizing early on, you will really, really gain the benefits. Again, going back to putting groceries away. Oh my gosh, you helped put the groceries away so well and we got done so fast. Now we can sit down and have a healthy snack together. Do you want carrots and celery and cheese? Which one do you want to pick? And so remember, in situations like this, say they're cranky, right? And they're hungry. But I have said here numerous times that being hungry is not necessarily an emergency, and you don't have to stop everything. It's a good opportunity to show cooperation. I'm hungry too, honey. So let's put these groceries away. It'll take us 2 minutes. And then we can sit down together and share the snack. So you're building her awareness of the environment and what your needs are, connecting with her and helping her feel good about cooperating and helping, because that's what cooperation is, right? We want to work together so we both win in the end. So number 6 in this list would be to offer suggestions. And I've touched upon this before. I know it's easy to get in the habit of telling kids at any age, right? And I recently did this with my 24-year-old. It's not good, right? You can give them suggestions or you can explore your personal experience, but telling your kids doesn't really help move anybody forward. And I know different scenarios where you're, needing to get out the door, or you need to finish dinner, or you need to transition and start bedtime routine because you have emails or phone calls, or you just want to rest and put your feet up. But I assure you that giving your toddlers, and really any child, but giving them suggestions will elicit much more cooperation, where commands often evoke this kind of resistance. They dig their heels in and say, I don't like being told what to do, right? I personally don't like being told what to do. But it's important that we state things concretely, matter-of-factly, like this is what I need. But then we kind of wrap it in giving choices. And so they feel somewhat empowered. For example, you could say, hey, honey, it's cold outside, so you'll need to wear a coat. Would you like to put it on all by yourself, or do you want me to help? Whenever you can say, do you want to do it all by yourself? A 2-year-old and a 3-year-old is going to jump and really do it because they want that independence, even if they're not very competent at it. Give them that space to try to put the coat on themselves or put the shoes on themselves. So stating things, your expectation, and wrapping it with some kind of choice really will bring a much better response than saying, put your coat on, put your coat on, put your coat on, 4 or 6 or 10 times. So I can assuredly say is a pretty fail-proof strategy, especially that 18, 2 years, 2.5. Some of times they'll need a little hand over hand, but it has worked hundreds, if not thousands of times in my practice at home with family members, whatever, just telling them what is expected and then wrapping it in some kind of choice making. And this works really well even in those most trying situations. Say you're trying to leave an environment, a park or a friend's house or the pool, and it really is time to go. And you just simply say, we got to go to the car. Do you want my help, or do you want to skip or hop or gallop like a horse or walk backwards? Or you could say, do you want to carry the backpack or the water bottle? Again, it's a form of distraction on some level, but you're pulling them in and things aren't just happening to them, that we're in this together. We came to the park together. We're going to leave together, and we're going to help each other in those transitions. But these subtle changes of, do you want to carry the backpack or the water bottle, gives their attention something else to focus on. So there's that kind of pseudo distraction, right? And if you make it fun-based and give them a choice, like, oh, you could hop like a bunny rabbit, or you could try to walk backwards. And sometimes, do it with them for a couple of steps, right? But it's a statement, and it's a clear, calm tone, but it's playful. If we say, oh, will you please help mommy? Can you help? Can you do this? We got to go, honey. I've asked you 3 times. That isn't very convincing. And it's not distracting them enough because there's too much wiggle room. The boundaries are too smushy, right? I always call them, they're jello. But over time, the more successes they experience and the more pleasant experiences in those transitions, then they'll build on that cooperation. And what you're doing is really helping them buy into participation. And the language piece, the understanding is really important. So make sure it's clear directives, it's positive, with this attitude, of course you're going to help mommy because it feels good. And what the payoff is less meltdowns, smoother transitions. They feel good. You feel good. And they're really enjoying being with you. And then they're trusting that, oh, I can come back to the park in a couple of days. Or, oh, the next thing's going to be fun too. Because it's not going to be perfect. I'm not setting that up, but I try my best to be realistic. But especially in those moments where they're more vulnerable or more fragile, which means maybe they're overtired or hungry, then you really need to get really simple with them and concrete and maybe distract them. And of course, there are times then you just have to pick them up and say, we got to go. Right? And that's a whole different conversation. I'm trying to encourage you to find everyday opportunities where you can help them learn what cooperation feels like and how it's a win-win situation. So number 7 on this list is to give your child choices while maintaining the rules. And we've touched upon this, but I wanted to highlight it separately because rules, sometimes people can get uncomfortable with that word, but it's just realistic expectations. And I'm always saying here, the expectations of a 2-year-old is going to be different than a 3-year-old, which is very different than a 4-year-old because the language and the understanding and their opportunities to have experienced successes and master skills change greatly in 6 months and 12 months and 18 months. Without rules or strong, firm boundaries, not militant, not authoritative, but helping them understand. And I was sharing this with a parent recently that they push on your boundaries because they want to know for sure that they know how far they can go, right? Because they don't want to feel unsure or uncomfortable. And if your lifestyle, your daily routines are too random or too inconsistent, it's a very uncomfortable place to be. Even though kids might look like they're enjoying running the show, it's not. It's sort of like equivalent to if we were to walk into a new situation, say a new job, or even, going to a new dinner party. Or recently I went to a fundraiser I've never attended before. I had no idea what the expectations were. And the more I could learn beforehand and understand, then the more comfortable I was going there and understanding, right? So our responsibility as a new mom and new parents and family of young children is to teach them what the rules, i.e. expectations are, and to understand what a 2-year-old can do. And that's why cooperation is not necessarily realistic for a 2-year-old, but you give them opportunities to practice. Right? So then at 3 and 4, they're significantly better. And what you're benefiting is, like I said earlier, reducing the stress, the drama, while you build these cooperative understanding, right? And you're building cooperation and independence, and then ultimately leadership. And we'll talk about this in a later episode, but how do you build cooperative play in more structured activities like t-ball or playing cards or tag even? That it's getting those experiences early on of how to work together and how to understand that I contribute as much as you contribute. So back to this last strategy is that you have to show them what the expectations, right? There are some non-negotiables, right? You don't run out into the street. You have to brush your teeth before you go to bed, right? So you could say something like, oh, teeth need to be brushed at bedtime. Do you want me to brush your teeth first, or do you want to go first? Most families, I think, understand that by the time a child's about 2, they have enough fine motor skills if they're eating and doing all of that kind of fine motor task and playing with Play-Doh and all of that, that you give them the opportunity to be in control of that toothbrush. But it's always mama follows up, and gets those corners. But the rule or the expectation is we have to brush your teeth. Do you want to go first or shall I? So offering those choices shows that your child is being respected and that there's a sense of understanding that we're in it together. And of course, all of this takes energy and some planning in that forebrain, right? And a lot of patience on your part. But I assure you that these small steps really do pay off huge return. Like I said, that a 2-year-old is still going to be disjointed, still going to need a lot of guidance and hand over hand. And you want to reinforce and positively celebrate those times where he is really engaged with you. And I've seen plenty of 2.5-year-olds really step up because they love doing things with us. If anything, it's like, oh my gosh, just get out from under my feet, right? But this is how we build that independence. This is how we build, mama has to do this over here and you can do this work over here, by the time they're 3. Right? You can pretend to wash these dishes over here while mom cooks this dinner that I have to measure things or it's something I've never done before. And so continue to look at all of these things as progress being developed over time, and that your guidance will build their independence, like I just mentioned, and that communication, understanding the words you're speaking to them and then them being able to express it, that builds or shapes their creativity too, right? They might not do it your way, put toys away, but they might come up with ways to problem solve on their own, right? And then overall, what's our goal? Cooperation is to bring some peace. So don't think of it as compliance or being an authoritative like parent. And to be honest, I have a lot of mixed feelings regarding this quote unquote gentle parenting that seems to be very popular on social media these days. And we can talk about that in a different episode. But I don't like boxes. I don't like labels that much because that literally boxes us in. It's no pun intended, but I think it inhibits our opportunities to grow and learn. When someone a long time ago says, oh, I'm not a very good bicyclist yet, or I'm not a very good organizer yet, right? I'm honing those skills. But I've read a lot about the whole gentle parenting and trying to get a 1, 2, 3-year-old to gain his or her permission. And I think that becomes a slippery slope. But like I said, that's a different conversation. I go back to, how do I want to be treated at the same time that I understand the limitations of they've only been in this world for 12 months or 18 months or 28 months, whatever the age is. And how can I marry those two? Having respect and love and kindness as I'm raising them and guiding them and teaching them, at the same time having realistic expectations. And my work over the last 35 years has given me a wealth of information on what is developmentally appropriate and how to create those expectations that are fluid, that are designed to grow and expand over time. And like, I probably said a dozen times here in this episode alone, a 2-year-old cannot, quote unquote, cooperate or even share very well on their own. He needs your guidance. He needs prompting and modeling, a lot of positive experience to learn how it feels to share, right? And to take small steps toward that. And so one of my hallmarks of my vision and my mission is to really help new moms, new families embrace their role as their primary teacher, their primary leader in the family. And I believe that that's why God asked us to really care for these beautiful children, to be stewards, right? To teach them how to be human, how to learn to cooperate and communicate and share and expand. So in being their good stewards, we too have a chance to grow and learn. We, as the adults, have to step up our game. We all understand that we've never done this parenting thing before, and we're learning on the job. I think part of God's plan then is When he asks us to become parents, it's so that we, as the human adult in the room, become better. And as you all know, becoming a parent tests every cell in our body. And at times, we truly doubt our own abilities. We question our own strength. But I believe through his strength, we then find peace and grace and joy in raising these beautiful children. And it's not easy. I get it. And especially, as I said, this time of the year is crazy and pulling you in all different directions, good, bad, and everything in between. Maybe these 7 strategies that help you teach cooperation with your toddler can also help you practice your new role. It's all just an opportunity to get better, to hone our personal skills and embrace this beautiful family. Let me just kind of run through them one last time to encourage turn taking, to do chores together starting at an early age, to explain your reasons for family rules and helping each other out, then to take time to problem solve together, because that pulls them in, to give specific praise for cooperative efforts. It's not going to be perfect, especially with a 2 and a 3-year-old. Number 6, to offer suggestions, not commands. Number 7, to give your child choices while maintaining the rules of your household. And this will help build your flow, your family rhythm, and gain a lot of cooperation, right? More peace. There's still going to be a lot of noise and ruckus and challenging moments. But if we think about this on a conscious level, we can all do a little bit better. And I know it's hairy during, this end of the year and the holidays and celebrating Christmas, and boundaries and limitations are challenging. But if you go into it with an open mind, I think less is more. And that is really about the time that you spend together as a family, and that they walk away with those happy feelings. And I've shared before in the past, they don't remember how many presents are under the tree, or they don't remember who got what. They remember being with you and playing with you and learning with you and sharing with you. So thanks for spending your precious time with me as always. And don't forget, I have a few free guides that will help you through some of these strategies. The link is down below. One of them is Getting Ready to Talk, my top 10 essentials that your child must have before they talk. Another one is Building Vocabulary, single words to 2-word phrases. A final note, I'm getting excited about 2025, lots and lots of new projects ahead, and I can't wait to share them with you. So let's grow together, and God bless all of you. Until next time, bye.